the first album I ever made. On September 20th, 2013, at 20 years old, I released my first full-length album with two of my friends. My bandmate on drums had his older brother record and produce it for us. In the early stages of our trio, we called ourselves A Second Apart and recorded 2 songs, but eventually changed the name to Project Mab and released a 12-track album called All I Can Find. Just talking about this brings me back to some of my favorite years of being a musician. With the blind ambition of youth and the excitement of recording a whole album, my other bandmate and I did nothing but work on songs. Every day, for months on end, we would get together and practice, with each of us bringing song ideas to each other. There are really no words to describe how cathartic it is to take on such a big task and actually follow through with completing it. My favorite thing about the artistic process is just that. Creating something purely because working on it is its own reward. We didn't know what the fuck we were doing. We didn't care. We set out to record an album, and that's all we wanted to do. Now, is this album perfect? Or even good? No, I don't even know if I like it myself. But I was listening to it recently, and I got inspired because the one thing that this album has is a lot of heart. Maybe that's the only thing going for it, honestly. I think the main issues I have with it personally are the sound engineering, my vocals, and the lack of simplicity. So, first of all, let's talk about the sound engineering.
I wait for the rest of the kingdom to admit.
I think the overall sound quality and the mixing and mastering is pretty rough, to say the least. It's not awful by any means, but it leaves a lot to be desired. As if the songs are 70% there and they got released anyway. I mainly wish we approached it from a heavier rock type of sound as opposed to a garage band sound, and I mean GarageBand the application. There are also some editing hiccups as well. The one thing that always stands out to me every time I hear it is in the song Thoughts Delay. We had my co-writer's older brother, who was briefly in town visiting from the Navy, come in and record the guitar solo at the very end. Seems easy enough, right? However, the problem is that we had him track his guitar on an early demo of the song that wasn't recorded to a click track, a metronome. Then we recorded the song again to a click track, and the result is his lead solo and the backing tracks kind of being slightly off rhythmically. And it's only in small specific moments, but it's enough to feel like it could have been more impactful if it was in sync more. But yeah, once he left town, it's not like we could get him to re-record his part. That was the only track we had. Secondly, my vocals.
Was beginning to fall. Would it feel so lonely?
I'll preface this by saying at the time my co-writer and I were really obsessed with the Beatles. He completely opened my eyes to Paul McCartney's endless talent as a singer and how he was able to hit those higher range lead vocal parts. So of course, we thought it'd be a good idea to have me sing a lot of the parts for my chest voice as opposed to going falsetto, and the result is me screaming a lot of notes that are clearly out of my range.
But that would only torture me inside.
It's really hard for me to listen to this album even to this day because of how much I cringe at the sound of my own voice. And before we make that joke, yes, I cringe at the sound of my own voice now, especially when I'm screaming your mom's name while clapping her cheeks. Anyway, yeah, I wish I didn't try to sing so many of these in a higher register because I could have easily just changed the key or changed the melody entirely. Number 3, the lack of simplicity. I did write the lyrics for all the songs, except for Rest Assured, that's my co-writer's instrumental track. But he and I essentially constructed all the songs, and our other bandmate added his drums, while his older brother recorded all of it for us. I think all of us, for better or worse, had an idea of what we wanted out of the music, and we ended up smothering the life out of the songs themselves. Unintentionally, I mean. It was not a toxic environment by any means. I just remember laughing my ass off and having a great time with everybody. But regardless, the process has a life of its own, and we're not in control of what happens when people work together. It's just how things go sometimes. One thing I learned from that is to be assertive with what you want creatively, but make sure everyone else has that same freedom to do so. If you feel strongly about something, make sure you speak up because you won't get to redo it once it's released. Maybe we're expressing our individuality to a fault, like the music didn't have a solid main idea of what it wanted to be. Songs can be simple. Some of the greatest songs in history have been simple ideas that were implemented in a tasteful way, whether that was dynamically or through production. But like I said earlier, this album has a lot of heart despite these imperfections. There's some interesting ideas there, and it's kind of cool that we got overzealous and wanted to put anything and everything that we had into the songs. It's something I made with a few friends at the time, and it's very special to me because of that. So that's what I think of the first album I ever made. The band broke up shortly after, and that's all that remains of the few years that we played together. Even if things come to an end, it's important to remember the good times we had and the people we spent them with. I love having these songs as a way of playing back those early years of my life and the beginning of my career in music. That alone makes it all worth the effort. And it's really cool being able to share it with you guys all these years later. So I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to me talk about my very first album. Thanks for watching.